Today, I'm going to have a look at the dollar and the yen. They've both been moving around quite a bit, and I'm going to try and come up with some trade ideas for this week, show you what I intend to trade. Dollar index has been in a downtrend for a while. We looked at this last week. Big consolidation pattern there from the beginning of February through to the beginning of July. That was a triangle pattern. When we started to break down out of the triangle pattern, that was my sell signal. And we did break the 500-day moving average, a breakaway gap indicating that we were going to go significantly lower. Big red candle through that lower trend line of that triangle. Very oversold on the daily chart. Now we're seeing that bounce, which I suggested could happen. I wasn't brave enough to suggest a long position in what I believe is the continuation of a bear trend, but we have bounced nicely to what should be resistance around the 101.00, 101.10 area from the 23.6% fib and the trend line and the previous swing lows. So will that be the high of the bounce? Will we see the dollar turn around and head south this week? Dollar index starts breaking above this trend line, which is around 101.25. We could push up as far as 101.85, 102.00. You can just see from the chart why that is going to be the next resistance level with the 500-day moving average, the 38.2% fib and the swing low from June. So those are the two big levels for the dollar index for this week. Let's see how that outlook in the dollar index translates into some of the US dollar pairs. And we will start with the obvious one, euro versus the US dollar. So I did suggest at the beginning of last week that the euro would take a tumble against the dollar. I did even suggest a short position. I'll be honest with you, I didn't manage to get into a short position. I wasn't brave enough. So I missed a bit of a move to the downside, but I don't really mind because for me, the prevailing trend is up. What I'm really interested in doing is trying to buy into a support level, then see if we bounce off and the bull trend resumes. Now, this is an obvious support level around that 111.20 area that I had on the trade sheet last week. There is my trend line showing that support area along with the 23.6% fib. And we've got these swing highs from April, May, just a little bit below that area. What are those highs? Break below 110.90 would indicate that we've got further losses to come in the euro versus the US dollar. And we could get down as far as 110.30, 110.20, which would be the next support level. The pound versus the dollar has been in a very strong bull trend for months. And I didn't think we would collapse quite as far as we did. This was triggered by a weaker than expected inflation number out of the UK this week. I thought we would hold around 129.45. We didn't. You can see that that is now resistance from the high of the candle on Thursday. On Friday, we touched what should now be the good support level around 128.30, 128.20, and over the day, almost exactly there at 128.14. So that support level did hold. You can see why. I've got Fibonacci levels there, the swing high from June, a trend line going back to April. It does look like a decent support level, and it certainly held last week. A break below 127.95, should we say, would it trigger further moves to the downside. Dollar versus the Canadian dollar, been really tricky to trade. We had this bullish engulfing candle. We just didn't follow through to the upside. We do have resistance around the 132.70 area, but we're struggling to get there. Maybe we can this week. That will be the key resistance level for this week. Swiss, which usually spends a long time trading sideways, appears to have broken to the downside. I talked about this last week as well. There's your trend line. Big break to the downside, stabilizing in oversold conditions, but not much of a bounce. If we do manage to recover, I would suggest we'll have resistance in the 87.75, 87.95 area, but that would require a further bounce of about 140 pips. I really would be surprised if we saw that. Everyone asks me about gold. I'm not going to show you the chart, but we have broken a support level around the 1960 area. So we could see further downside in gold at the beginning of this week. I hope that's been helpful. Keep an eye out for more videos this week. We had a lot of action in the yen on Friday with a weaker than expected inflation number. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on that. And if I've got anything interesting to tell you during the week, I'll make another video for you.